Here tonight, just be able to answer questions, be able to help people inside the healing process, help you with wherever you're at, dealing with a toxic relationship. So as you get on here, feel free to drop any questions down below in the chat and we'll start rolling through them as quick as possible, just to be able to help you with where you're at, what's going on. And we'll take little side steps and little trips on each different question of giving either different examples or different ideas, different concepts. But if you're new, just logging in, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness about narcissistic abuse and help people break free. So I work with women who have been stuck in a toxic relationship, whether that's mentally, emotionally, physically, trying to figure out how to heal, how to grow, how to develop, how to break the trauma bond so it no longer affects them anymore. And I also work with a select few number of men that have shown up as the toxic person, as the toxic guy. But the majority of my content is geared towards the women because a lot of times they're looking for and trying to figure out what is going on, trying to make sense of the confusion and of the chaos that they've been in. A lot of times you don't see guys that actually reach out because they don't really see it, care, or want to actually change. But that can also happen on the survivor side. There could be people that see it, that understand it, but don't actually want to confront it or do anything about it. That oftentimes will leave people inside of a place of victimhood, where they stay stuck mentally and emotionally, and they're either unwilling to actually shift or change, or they're unwilling to actually do the work to heal. I saw a comment earlier from somebody on one of the videos that was talking about the piece of karma, right? Of like, when is he going to get his due? When is he going to get his karma? And one of the questions I always come back with is, when are you going to get your healing? Because sometimes people will spend so much time, money, and energy watching and waiting for someone to get what's coming to them or get their due. And as a result, that person still never gets their healing. Is that you inside the healing process? Sometimes people get so sidetracked and so consumed with watching someone else's demise versus actually watching their own healing, watching their own growth, watching their own development. Inside of tonight, we're going to be diving into a lot of different topics: narcissistic abuse, the trauma bond, dealing with that, breaking free from that, how that works. We're going to dive into a bunch of different pieces based on just what you ask, what you bring up, and the questions that you have. Inside of here, what I want you to consider is the abuse that's inside of your world and inside of your life doesn't matter if it has a specific label or not. So the guy could be a narcissist, and he might not be. At the end of the day, the biggest thing is how much the abuse you're accepting on a day-to-day basis, not whether he's diagnosable or not whether he's a narcissist, sociopath, psychopath. It really doesn't matter. What matters is the abuse that's currently in your life that you continue to accept and continue to have that's affecting you. It's the biggest thing. He said that he doesn't love me like a girlfriend, only as a friend. Well, how is he treating you? Is he treating you like a girlfriend? You know, it might just be leading you on. My ex told me he has a new girlfriend. I can leave everything. I can leave everything for you. Please help me trust you. Then he would insult me and tell me how good this new girl is. Is that normal? Normal inside of a toxic relationship? Yeah, where he's trying to trigger you and even trying to train you based on the other person. A lot of times a narcissist will use another person to triangulate, but also to train you of what you should or what you can't do. I keep trying to leave, but then I feel guilty. Even though I know he is doing me wrong, how do I move through that and get away? So Carby, one of the pieces is you feel guilty because one, he's trained you to feel guilty, and you feel guilty based on the story you're telling yourself, the subconscious programming that's going through your head. So part of the process needs to be actually looking at the facts and helping rewire that. So like when we're looking at this, you need to be able to understand, how is he actually treating you? I mean, you might even need to sit down on a piece of paper and start writing it down. How is it actually affecting you? How is it impacting you? Because you're going to feel guilty because he's going to make it all about him. Oh, you're leaving me, you're abandoning me, you're moving on. Like, how could you do this? I need you in this time of need. But all the things that's prompting you to even leave and even consider that has all been his own choice. It hasn't been you forcing him to manipulate, you forcing him to lie, you forcing him to cheat, you forcing him to do different things that have abused you, but he's going to make you feel like it's all your fault. Oftentimes that'll produce different levels of guilt and shame that keep you stuck. Part of it, what you're dealing with, is what we call the trauma bond. If you want to know more about that and how we specifically work you through what's called the freedom formula, you can go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. I'd love to be able to show you a little bit of what I do and be able to help you actually move forward in that healing process. I wonder if the narcissist is aware at all that they're being incredibly abusive. So there's a piece of it that the narcissist knows that something is different, right? There's something different about him, something different about how he interacts, how he responds, how he connects to people. But there's also a piece that he doesn't care. And that's the biggest piece. Is a narcissist might be aware and he might not be, right? There's a lot of narcissists that are aware. There's many more narcissists that are aware than what people think. The difference is, do they actually care enough to change anything? Typically, the answer is no. Here's the piece. Whether he cares or not, whether he's doing it on purpose or not, the end result is the abuse that you're accepting. The end result is, how is it actually impacting and affecting you? Because otherwise the piece is, oh, well, if he's not aware, then let me take the time to educate him, which is not your job, which is not your build-a-man project, which is not you to be able to work and figure out how do you actually make this guy better. Because once you get him to be aware, there's a whole nother piece. If he doesn't care, he's still not going to have any change. Do covert narcissists ever regret for losing you? A lot of times the regret that's built up inside of any type of narcissism is either compartmentalized so that he doesn't feel it or experience it, or the regret of control over another person, what he got over another person, how he felt over another person, how there was maybe a connection or a piece there that ended up going back to control. A lot of times you'll see that. How much detailed effort and layers of deception is a covert narcissist likely to be using to keep you? I know I've got to be paranoid, but I don't know where the line actually is. So I'm going to ask, like, inside of this, like, how much detailed effort and layers of deception do you need to believe he has in order for you to actually leave? Like, how deep does it have to go before you raise the flag and you're like, oh yeah, I'm done. This is enough. Because like we can look at it, and if we start labeling different layers, right? If we're like, okay, out of 1 to 10, he's on layer number 3. Well, does that mean you leave, or you only leave when it gets to 4? Or it's at 4, you only leave when it gets to 10? Like inside of that, where do you draw the line? Because inside of that logic, it's like, how much effort is he putting into this? How many layers of deception is he doing to cause this type of abuse? What if we just backed up and we looked at what the abuse is giving? How you're actually getting treated, how he's affecting you on a day-to-day basis, how he's spiraling you out, how he's frustrating you, how he's hurting you. Here's the thing. People will spend too much time, and I'm not saying that you're just wasting time, but I want you to see this. People will spend too much time being worried about the depth of narcissism that they're dealing with versus the growth of the amount of healing that they could have if they focused on it, if they channeled it in the right direction. Do they hear anything we say? How about if we type it? Does any reality sink in, even if it's justified away within 90 seconds? Think of it this way. He can hear anything that you're going to say. The question is, does he respect it? And you have to look at the rest of your life and realize that he, as a whole, he has not respected anything that you've said or that you've done. Probably hasn't respected you by how you've acted, how you've talked, how you've shown up. He hasn't respected you by cheating on you, by lying to you, all different types of things. So you have to understand, whether he hears you or not, he doesn't respect anything you have to say. This is why even if you were able to have the magic potion, the secret sauce to wake a narcissist up and you're like, oh, here you go, he still wouldn't respect it because he doesn't respect you as a person for being with him and lowering your standards to accept the abuse that he's giving you. That's the biggest piece you need to understand. There's no magic potion. There's no pixie dust. There's no magic words that you can say or write down or speak or put writings on the wall to get him to understand. If he's not willing to actually work on the piece of being honest about himself, about what he's actually done, nothing else matters. We're divorcing now, so the reasons have changed, but the heart of the question is the same. So Jane Smith, write in the heart of the question. Like, dive deeper and be like, what is the actual heart of the question that you're actually looking to understand and looking to see? I left my 23-year marriage about 5 weeks ago. He has started church, admitted years of porn abuse, masturbation, even at work abuse, but I still don't trust him at all. Autumn, I wouldn't, because after 23 years and you left 5 weeks ago, there's typically not this magical come to Jesus moment. What it is like, let me shift and change on the outside so I can try to get this person back. Focus on you, focus on your healing so that you have the clarity, the confidence, so that if he does step back into your life, you can determine very quickly whether he's actually changed, grown, developed, whether he's actually transformed or not. This is why I work with people that are in or that are already out of the relationship to help them heal, break the trauma bond completely, help them see with clarity so that if he's in or out of their lives, they can actually determine, see through all the things he's doing, but they can actually move forward with the certainty, right? Of knowing this is the decision that I need to make, not waffling back and forth, because that's what he's counting on a lot of times. Is a Hoover an attempt to get back with you or just a toy with your feelings? So official definition would be more of like a Hoover is meant to suck you back into the relationship. But you could do that in a physical form of like, I'm sucking you back to actually being physically together, or I'm sucking you back in reaction to getting different feelings from you. So it could be kind of the same, but the main piece is like, typically people refer to it as sucking you back into the relationship. The Hoover actually could just be a place of, I'm sucking you back into a reactive state that I'm still in control of you. Does that make sense? I want to leave, but my narcissist for my health's sake. We're in therapy, but I can't tell if the forgetting, ignoring, and accusing is from SOs, TBI, and permanent or narcissistic behavior. Carrie, I need you to hear this loud and clear. How is it affecting you? How is it impacting you? Like, I don't care if it's from his childhood, if it's from narcissism, it's from sociopath, psychopath, borderline, ADHD, bipolar. It doesn't actually matter. What matters is he actually owning up to anything and actually working on shifting and changing himself or not? Right? If the man's still a liar, you still don't have a relationship. You have a situationship, right? The majority reason why our marriage was on the rocks and falling apart and my wife left was not just because I was an abusive asshole, but because I wasn't honest about it. I wasn't willing to own any of my shit. So as a result, it just kept happening because I'd explain it away. I'd blame it on her. I'd put it on everyone else. Like, I would explain everything away except for taking any type of ownership. If he's not taking ownership, it doesn't matter where it came from, and it doesn't matter if it's quote unquote permanent or not permanent. Do you see what I mean? Like, the biggest piece inside of this is how is it affecting you and how are you continuing to be around it and have it continue to impact your world? Okay? Is it normal for them to shift their manipulation to the kids after the spouse leaves? Yes, 100%. I filed for divorce. I can't heal with him. He can figure himself out. Why? As I move forward in my life, it's been the worst experience with a trauma bond, and I'm so much better out than in. 100%. Autumn, would love to have you reach out because I'd love to be able to work with you inside of breaking the trauma bond and making sure that he can never come back in. Right? As you build up you inside of how you want to live, that life, that focus of how you want to be for you, want to be able to help with that. You can go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Someone else put, how do you contact you? Go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. You'll be able to watch a quick video, fill out a quick application so I understand where you're coming from, and it'll route you in a couple different ways. To be able to have a free call with me, to jump inside, work with me inside of one of our challenges. But if you go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough, love to be able to help inside of that. What if the ex-narcissist continues to hate you with passion? Block, ghost, go no contact, live your life. Who cares if they hate you? Well, what matters is you healing. What matters is you living the life that you actually love, not that someone else hates. What is the difference between a real narcissist and the average Joe that gets called a narcissist? We can look at like the 9 diagnostic traits. We can be able to go through the process of trying to diagnose or not diagnose. The main thing that I'll say on here is abuse is abuse. Right? The main thing is the label that justifies you leaving or staying versus you actually looking and assessing your relationship based on he's a liar, he's a cheater, he's manipulative, right? Those things matter more than the label. People get too hung up on the label. Why are people ignoring the madness going on outside? Don't know what that's talking about. Would you say these things apply to a parent as well as abusing you? 100%. My husband keeps telling everyone what an amazing job he's doing with his healing and personal growth while still lying through his teeth to the court and myself. It's trippy. Jane, so that means he doesn't give a shit about you and he doesn't give a shit about the family. All he's trying to do is be able to give an image to everybody else that he looks like a good guy. Like, hear this loud and clear. I was in therapy when my wife left. My wife didn't leave because I wasn't going to therapy. My wife left because I was in therapy and nothing was changing. But I was telling everyone I'm in therapy. Right? There is the outward experience. There's outward appearance, right? Biggest thing that I know matters the most inside of everything you said, while still lying. That's it. That's like number one, the biggest thing that I care about when I hear about someone's experience with a toxic guy, while still lying, period, done. He's a liar. Therefore, you don't have a relationship. You're in a situationship where he's going to gaslight and manipulate everybody else in your life instead of taking ownership. My question next was whether it was him or the alcohol, and you answered it with the teabag question. Yeah, Carby, the biggest thing inside of it is when you have alcohol, drugs, different pieces inside of it, it's extremely, it's basically impossible to get to anything narcissistic if there's addictions on top of it. I've seen this in working with a lot of different people, and frankly, like, I will not work with people. Like, I won't work with a narcissist who's dealing with addiction. I'm like, you go get clean first, then come back, because the work that we have to dive underneath, you won't be able to get to if you're just sedating with stuff. So, like, if you're trying to deal with that, biggest thing, like, if he's not willing to get clean first, like, there's no hope for you to get any deeper than that. I realized I was a narcissist, but I felt like I was doing the right thing for that person and helping them grow. Am I wrong? If you're hurting them, then yes. Where are we at? Why are you a narcissist? So a big piece inside of it, there's a lot of different things that happen inside of childhood. Part of it had to do with different emotions, different attachment, emotional vulnerability, a disconnect from the primary caregiver. It had different pieces as well, diving into just emotional safety pieces and not dealing with learning how to be able to process guilt and shame in a healthy way. Right? Like I didn't know how to be able to process it. And as a result, I figured out, let me protect myself by putting up these walls and then protect myself by blaming other people, protect myself lying so I didn't get in trouble, so I didn't deal with the shame. It's just like this snowball effect is kind of the best way I could say it. Are many narcissists alcoholics as well? A lot of times you're going to have different narcissists that are addicts in different aspects. They might be on drugs, might be on alcohol. There might be different coping mechanisms that they've found to try to be able to sedate who they are and how they're showing up. Narcissists taught me to recognize the first stage of cognitive dissonance. They lure me into, I no longer fall for, and just walk away with a smile on my face. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Currently healing. We're in the middle of a divorce. He keeps telling me I'm living in sin, need to come back. He refuses to take accountability and tells me I need to be held accountable. Yeah, so he's a hypocrite and he doesn't actually mean anything he's saying. He's just trying to do it to manipulate you. The biggest thing. How do you feel about someone who mirrors you? A lot of times narcissists will mirror you to make you fall in love with a version of yourself, make you fall in love with an ideal version, a picture of who you want or who you think you could have in your life just to get you trapped. Why is a narcissist stalking, and what happens when he is successfully taking his space? I don't know what successfully taking his space means. A lot of times a narcissist is stalking to be able to still have control over you because in his mind, he has control over you if he just knows, understands, watches you. Do narcissists blame you and make you feel like you're the bad person? 100%. It made me question at some points if I have the narcissist. A lot of times, narcissists will try to project and blame different things that they're doing onto other people so that they don't have to deal with their own guilt and shame. So they don't have to deal with that piece that's happening underneath. I've done some of these things. I'm always worried that I'm a narcissist for acting like that. So April, what I'd have you do is go look up the 9 diagnostic traits and actually look and see what are the 9 diagnostic traits, how do you identify with those, and have you been having those in your life for a long period of time, or has it happened around this relationship? Many times people will feel like they're being called the narcissist. They will feel like it's attacking them in that way. And that oftentimes is a narcissist projecting and pushing different things on you. But if it feels like it, look it up, start diving into it. You can learn more about this, and I dive into this. I work with this inside of different challenges that we have. You can go to rawmotivations.com just to be able to schedule a free call with me. Fill out a quick application, watch a video that I have, and sit down and have a call, be able to see where are you at, what's actually coming up, what are you seeing, and how can I actually help you move forward. My ex-narcissist always said to me, love you, hate you. What does that mean? Do they really feel that? There's like a million different things that it could mean underneath that. But what I would say is he might have said he loved you, but he probably showed his actions that he hate you. Would you say that completely ignoring a narcissist is the best defense? I find it reflects who they are back to them and they don't like it. In other words, they don't like themselves. The biggest thing inside of ignoring a narcissist is not to get back at them and not to make them see themselves. It's so that you have space and time to be able to heal and focus on you. That's the biggest thing. It's like people that are healing from a narcissistic abuse and they're healing from an abuser, they don't get to a place where they just don't care. They're just completely indifferent because they're like, I'm focused over here. Like you're trying to entice me with like an M&M and I have this big candy bar over here. It's like, why would I even want that, right? People aren't even looking at the narcissist anymore because they're like, I've grown so much and so farther past who he is and where he is. Why would I even want to go back? Why do I even want to interact with him? In an odd way, my ex tried to hoover me back by asking me to come clean his house for money. I turned it down, yet he actively acts like I don't exist at the same time. Is that normal for NPD? A lot of times I would see pieces of that where it just kind of like sweeps it under the rug. Literally, he wants you sweeping sweeping it under the rug of like, oh, I did this to this person. Doesn't matter. Why don't you come clean for me? Like they're going to just like even roll past like how he's affected you. Tips for when it's a business partner: extreme narcissism, psychological abuse, and guilt. Right now, business divorce is a lot more difficult than a personal divorce would be. Totally get that. The hard piece is like being able to establish boundaries sometimes in the business world, in the business field, depending on the type of partnership you have, can be extremely difficult or is going to get extremely costly with bringing different lawyers in. What I would say inside of the business world, especially if you're at that level, is trying to figure out how can you put someone in between that's like a buffer, that's someone that's not going to get abused, but is also going to be a translator, someone that's going to help bringing in other people into conversations, like different things that's going to help lower a lot of what's happening. Sometimes narcissists won't do it as much if they're in an environment or if they're around someone that they either not respect, but they don't want to lower that mask in front of. Are there bisexual male narcissists? Yep. Mine had no choice so far to get clean from meth. He had an amputation because of infections. He changed, man. Now it says, I don't believe him. Yeah, so the change you have to see long term. What does this look like long term? Why does a narcissist spread rumors around you? To lower your self-esteem, to make you feel bad about yourself, and to make himself feel better about himself. Like when a narcissist is attacking you, it actually has nothing to do with you. That's probably one of the hardest truths that people struggle to accept because like, yeah, it has everything to do about me because he's attacking me. He actually doesn't give a shit about you, which is why he's attacking you. What he cares about is himself, protecting his image, protecting himself, protecting what he views as valuable and important, which is not you, right? So it still all comes back to the narcissist. People get that confused a lot of times. I sedate myself because I'm afraid that the other person coming out and hurting my loved ones, even so realize I'm slowly killing myself. It's easy to put the blame on others. Yeah, like you have to be able to take the accountability for your own sedation, for you not focusing on whatever healing piece you're talking about there. So far, he's accused me of the exact same things he's done to me. So now I'm thinking some of the other things he's accused me of or are confessions of other things I haven't discovered. 100%. A lot of times we'll see that narcissists accusing you of cheating when you haven't cheated at all, but he's the one that's actually cheating. Do narcissists think of their exes even though they still have new partners? Typically, no, not in the aspect of like, oh, I miss them. Oh, like I want to get back with them. It could be a power and control piece, or it could be like, I think of this person when I'm bored with the current partner. Or I think of this person when I'm triggered with this relationship where the mask is falling. Maybe I can reactivate that relationship and feel better about myself, right? It still comes back to what he's thinking about him, not like, oh my gosh, I miss this person. A lot of times that's not the narrative going through narcissist's head. Second and third supply being triangulated. Who does he want to be with? I don't know. I have no clue. He probably doesn't know either. He's probably just going with whoever's going to accept him at this point. How can I confirm that my friend is a narcissist? You could look up the 9 diagnostic traits. You could see how it's affecting you and how it's affecting others, and then you could focus on your own healing. Because whether he is or whether he's not doesn't actually matter. What matters is the abuse that you're accepting. The biggest thing. The abuse that you accept is the biggest thing that we need to see here. Like if all of you watching this live today only get one thing out of this, understand the label doesn't matter, but the abuse that you accept does. Some of you are looking for a label so that you feel better about yourself. Some of you are looking for a label so that you're justified to leave. Some of you are looking for a label just so you have clarity, and I get that. But the clarity also needs to come to the fact of like, let's look at this guy. Is he a liar? Is he a cheater? Is he manipulating? Is he gaslighting? Like all of those things are more than enough to start setting you down the course of looking at red flags and taking off the rose-colored glasses so you actually see the truth versus going down the road of being like, well, I can't diagnose him because I'm not a therapist, so I'm not sure. Maybe he's this, maybe he's this, maybe he's this. And you never get to the clarity of the reality that you're getting abused because nobody wants to admit that. Because if you're getting abused and if you're getting manipulated, that's a piece that people want to run away from. Why? Because it's uncomfortable and it makes you feel like a victim. What makes you feel like a victim longer is waiting to see what he is versus actually you healing, growing, developing you. Okay? Do you think intense trauma to their ego core while it was being formed can cause someone to be diagnosed with narcissism? Yes, that could be a piece of it for sure. How do you get rid of suspected flying monkeys? Same thing you do as with a narcissist. Block, go, no contact, ghost, because they don't care about you and they're already showing you that by their actions because they're ascribing to his reality and they're not actually coming into your world being like, hey, what's going on? Want to be able to help, want to understand your side of it. What questions could you ask someone to determine if they have narcissistic tendencies? One of the pieces I would say is establish boundaries and see how they respond to it. Tell them no. See how they respond to that. Watch how they interact with other people, friends, family, like waiters, waitresses, right? Like see how they're actually interacting with other people because a lot of times a narcissist can't handle the boundaries, can't handle saying no, and can't handle dealing with guilt and shame. All of them all together. How do I approach someone who's a narcissist to make them see their actions? Devin, you don't. Okay, that one, that's not your responsibility. Two, it's not your job. Two, and three, inside of that, it's not your job to save someone. You're not going after someone being like, hey, I think you're a narcissist. I think you have narcissistic traits. Why don't we go after the basic thing of like, hey, you might be a liar. Because you're lying to yourself, you're lying to me, you're lying to other people. Because if he can't understand that he's a liar, there's no reason for you to bring up the word narcissism. Like this is like the person who goes into the hospital and is diagnosed with cancer. But the problem is he doesn't believe that he has cancer simply because anytime anyone has come to him with any diagnosis, he's been like, yeah, whatever, I don't believe it. Because if he's not willing to acknowledge that he has a hangnail that needs to be fixed, how in the world is he going to acknowledge that he has cancer? right? A narcissist, if he doesn't go through the first piece of realizing that he's a liar, isn't going to recognize, hey, I've got a bigger issue that is going to put up a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, and is going to be really, really difficult for me to work through. My narcissist put me as beneficiary of his will. Will he secretly change his will? I don't know, maybe. Or he might just do it to mess with you. My son is trying to disengage from a female narcissist, but she re-engages him. What is your advice to him to stay away from her? He needs to shift his mindset, needs to rewire to be able to break the trauma bond. And he also needs to get to a place where he blocks the ghosts, go no contact. Changes his number even, moves, whatever it needs to take so he can heal and have a buffer, because otherwise she'll keep coming back in. When the narcissist is manipulated, gaslighting, a hold a poker face, no reaction, they carry on a conversation with someone else like nothing happened. Did this work on you? As far as like getting annoyed with that, like, yeah, but like I would typically work it however I needed to get that person back into interacting with me. Absolutely, you're welcome. How do you get a narcissist to stop engaging you? Well, you stop letting him and you stop engaging the narcissist. Like the biggest thing is so many people look at this. And I'm going to go off this question for a second because sometimes people will be like, how do I get the narcissist to block me? We need to wake up to the reality that this guy has never respected you and he hasn't cared about you. So why would he care about you now? You need to block the narcissist. How do you get the narcissist to stop engaging you? You block. You ghost, you go no contact, you change your number. Like you'd be surprised. I'll like suggest this after people have done multiple things and they like freak out. They're like, I couldn't change my number. I've got it attached to all these things. I've got it attached to this. And this is my, my two-factor authentication on this. I'm like, is that worth your peace and like the rest of your life dealing with this guy? Really? Like this is a piece that we have to understand. Is it common for narcissists to poison or sabotage their supplies health, or is that more psychopath? I would say that'd be more psychopath, sociopathic. My mother has narcissism. I feel like I can't have a good conversation or relationship with her ever since I built a relationship with life for myself. How do I handle her trying to hurt us? Boundaries, 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 boundaries. Not for her, boundaries are for you, which means if she's continually crossing boundaries and she's continually hurting you or the family or all different people around you, you set healthy boundaries, and boundaries are your line in the sand. All right, real quick, boundaries. If all of you are confused about boundaries, really quick. Boundaries are not limits and rules. And boundaries are not for the other person. Boundaries are for you. Boundaries are your line in the sand that says, this is the amount, this is the level of shit that I'm going to take before I'm out. So let's think of it in one way. You could have a boundary that would be a limit and a rule by saying, hey, you're not allowed to interact with other women. You're not allowed to cheat on me. Okay? Or you could set up a boundary that would not be a limit and rule, just be a boundary to be like, hey, I want to be in a committed, loving, loyal relationship, which means that if you want to go out and cheat, go cheat. But just know that when you come back home, it's not going to be with me because I'm not going to be with a person who's a liar and a cheater. Different, because it's not controlling the other person, it's controlling you. It's saying, this is what I will allow myself to be in or not be in. Boundaries are for you. They're not for the other person. Boundaries are not limits, rules, regulations. Boundaries are your line in the sand that says, this is the line that I'm going to go up to. And if it gets crossed, okay, then I will go live my life how I need to live my life. Knew this one guy who would text me periodically about a job. He got a nursing school. I graduated from after congratulating me, blocked me. I just don't get what that was about. No clue. There's not a whole lot of info there for it. When I was hurt, I told him what he did would say, you are challenging me, you will see, and you got mad at me for no reason. That's weird. Can a self-aware narcissist start to care about all their kids the same, or they'll always be a golden child and a scapegoat no matter what? That's a really good question. Are you saying like as far as like if they change, or like with where I am? Like, do I care about my kids differently, right? Because that's a question of like, hey, self-aware narcissist here. For me, I haven't seen that and I haven't experienced that, but we just added the second one, so we'll see. But I mean, inside of it, it's like, how am I actually developing and showing up for them by showing up for me? How I'm growing and transforming myself, how I'm owning my feelings, how I'm working through my things of honesty, emotional vulnerability, all those things. That's what needs to be there to be able to provide a safe space for my kids. Someone need a definition to help calm, some helps the healing process. The definition is fine to be able to understand, but not to have a label to justify the decisions they're making. It was my friend, had no idea narcissist, wherever she told me a video at the beginning of the evaluation phase. I love how you said the abuse you're accepting, not enduring for some other victims, 100%. I went no contact with baby dad for 10 months so far. Should I ever let him see his child at some point? I wouldn't, unless he focuses on it. And like, unless he actually got on the birth certificate, then he's gonna have to go through the court system. Like, you focus on you and your healing, because if he wasn't willing to actually be there when no contact for 10 months, right? Like, if he's not actually willing to be there, then he doesn't deserve to be a part of that kid's life. And why should a toxic guy have more input into the kid's life at all? Just being honest, I don't know how to clear the brain. I try to make it all not about myself. So like, clearing the brain, maybe you're thinking of like the rumination, intrusive thoughts, like constantly thinking about the toxic guy, has going to come back with a subconscious programming in the story you're telling yourself. We work through this inside of some of our challenges of the freedom formula, showing you how to actually work through the trigger, the emotions, the feelings, to shift what's actually happening internally, connect the head to heart. Because if we don't connect those, a lot of times it's going to continue to spiral people out. If you want to know more about that, you can go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. There's an opportunity to watch a short video, fill an application, and then book a free call with me. So we can sit down and actually talk about where you're at, where you want to go, and how to be able to help heal from that. So you can book calls as early as tomorrow, right? Inside of Monday. Because the goal inside of here is that we give you a plan and a path, step-by-step progression. What happened when you ignore a narcissist? Have you tried to hoover you back multiple times? He might get frustrated and leave. He might get pissed off and stalk. It might go worse. Like, there's a lot of different pieces that could happen. The biggest thing is when you ignore a narcissist and you don't allow him back in, you get buffer and you get space to actually focus on your own healing. Are you being the benevolent narcissist? Super nice, super helpful. I feel like the only thing a true narcissist could talk about is the abusive side, and the good advice on flying monkeys, don't talk to them. I don't get like the second half. But okay, are you being benevolent narcissist? Super nice, super helpful. I'm on here to be able to help people heal. So that's the biggest thing. Awareness, growth, healing, development. Like, the transformation inside of people's lives when they get free mentally and emotionally is what's the biggest driver. When you go past the point of no return, do they know about your dissociative state? What's the point of no return for you? Like, that is very vague. I have no clue what we're talking about there. Why am I unable to stop feeling angry after betrayal? I can't tell if he's being honest now, and I'm struggling with the healing. So Ellie, part of this is the trauma bond, is because it gets you addicted to the highs and the lows. So the betrayal's not that bad, because then it gets good, and then it's not that bad, because then it gets good. And your mind gets addicted to that chaos, and there becomes so much confusion, you don't end up having the truth about what needs to happen for you. Many people that are in toxic relationships like this are stuck in the chaos and the confusion. They don't have clarity about what's happening. Would love to talk to you. Love to help you inside this. You can go to rawmotivations.com. It's just so you can understand a little bit more of what I do, but also how to get clarity. Be careful about learning so much about narcissism you ignore the need to heal from abuse, and you cannot spend your time trying to rescue or fix. Not your job. 100%. Why do narcissists try to compete and copy you to avoid shame and guilt that they're not good enough or that they're not showing up? Everyone always says narcissistic people never apologize. Not necessarily true. They apologize a lot. Here's the thing. Apologizing is acknowledging it. Accountability is changing it. So an apology without changed behavior is manipulation. So there's a lot of narcissists that don't apologize. There's a lot of other narcissists that do apologize. The difference is if they're not shifting, if they're not changing anything, if they're not transforming, then it doesn't matter. What percentage of society is narcissistic? Last I heard, I think Dr. Ramani said inside of a workshop that she thinks it's around like 12, 14%, right? But if you look it up on Google, it's like 2, 4% or whatever. And that's just considering the people who are actually going to raise their hand and get diagnosed. Majority of people aren't even going to get diagnosed, so it's hard to even do that to start off with. I haven't got far enough, so I don't even know who gave a gift, but like, thank you so much. I appreciate it. How do you break a trauma bond and permanently stay emotionally healthy when you have shared custody with a narcissist? So breaking a trauma bond has to do with the subconscious programming, the story you're telling yourself. A trauma bond is built off of hope and potential, cognitive dissonance, intermittent reinforcement. We deal with all of this in working with people to help them understand how to break free using the freedom formula, which is working on one lie, one story, one subconscious programming at a time, till you learn how to be able to stack them on top of each other and actually be able to eradicate them completely. There's a trigger that's getting activated in your world that's keeping you oscillating back, cycling back to this toxic guy over and over and over. Trauma bond. Could be mentally, could be emotionally, could be physically, going back to this guy. Once one of those is broken, it becomes easier for you to start to see with more clarity, right? So a lot of what we focus on is helping people actually work through the triggers. Because if you're inside of shared custody with a narcissist, you're going to get triggered 24/7, right? Like, he's going to use the kids to try to manipulate. He's going to use the kids to send messages. He's going to use all different types of things to try to trigger you. But imagine this. He comes into your world to, let's say, swap the kids. And he tries to do different things that normally would trigger you, and they have no effect. That's when you know that the trauma bond is actually breaking. That's what we focus on. How do you actually heal and break down the triggers so they no longer affect you anymore? I caught mine stalking 3 years later, just a little while back. I mean, once I get on the offense, I'm really just going to go all out. I don't know where we're going with this. Let's see. We're getting some spammers. I'm just catching up here. Why would anyone legit sit and listen to a narcissist? Blake, because a lot of them want clarity, and you obviously don't want to consider healing. So inside of this, who triggered you? He won't reach out, but he still comes in the vicinity. He still thinks that it's like triggering you. They love a boundary, and it's more challenging food. A real narcissist doesn't know that he or she is a narcissist, to my knowledge, to your knowledge. That's why there's also a lot of self-aware narcissists and ones that have been diagnosed that are actually trying to help other people heal too. All right. We got to like show this message so I can actually block this person because all they're doing is spamming. All right. I set boundaries. Oh, where'd it go? I set boundaries. That was a big clue. Freaked out. I did end up blocking and said friend couldn't handle it. I'm so glad I did. Yeah. So like you have to set boundaries. We weren't taught boundaries. So we have to rewire our brains. Comes with healing. 100%. 100%. So angry because he lied and cheated and I've been really mean to him with words. How do I stop? So inside of that, like, know that like your anger is fine because he lied and cheated. Like, does that mean you have to be abusive? No. But what that means is like you can use that anger to actually shift your focus to be able to heal and grow and develop you, right? Too many times people are looking at like, well, this happened. So like, I'm getting pissed off. I'm getting frustrated. Like if you actually have anger, I don't really mind because that's a piece that we can actually help channel into your healing process. I'm trying to catch up, and there's a bunch of spamming. Can narcissist personality change in the golden years? Yeah, typically it gets worse. How do I deal with spouse making our daughter like him? It's hard because you can't really go after the daughter and be like, don't like him, right? Because as soon as you try to pit her against him, she's automatically going to go to the defense of the parent that's not there. You have to live your life so that she sees that there's a difference between you and dad. So that she sees that you're emotionally healthy. So that she sees in your own healing, it's actually helping redeem her from the fact that he's trying to convince her that he's better than you. Do narcissists come back after this? A lot of times narcissists will cycle back over and over. Answers to most of these questions must be obvious for you. Please bear with us. We don't think like this. And thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. I'm trying to catch up because like there's a bunch of stuff spammed in here. The way their brains are wired is not normal by any extent. You can just tell how far someone is really to take it. Yeah. And it's easy inside the narcissist's mind to continue like going farther and farther and farther. That's why like when you get into rage, you got to be extremely careful because if he's raging out, you don't know what he's capable of. Like he can go from raging to then wanting to off you completely. Like you have to be extremely careful because the mind will justify so much. The rumination is real. These videos keep me grounded. So Shannon, would love to be able to talk to you. Reach out. Go to realmotivations.com/breakthrough because if the rumination is a long-term piece that you continue to have and these videos are just grounding and keeping you centered, like that means they're not something that's going to help you heal long-term because we have to take more action in actually working through the subconscious programming. Okay? Like my videos are here to be able to provide awareness and help people heal. But inside of it, people that work with me long-term, they don't watch my videos anymore simply because they don't need it. So if the rumination is here, but you're using my videos as a coping mechanism, that's great because it's helping in the moment, but let's actually get you the healing so that it's gone completely. So you don't have the rumination long-term. Still question whether she was a narcissist. The confusion is crazy. A lot of times people will be stuck with that. So I'm like a mediator. I really try to be peaceful or whatever. This is the definition of like stoic. It's a common, but the narcissist is not on this. I don't know where we're going this. This isn't even live. Wow. Yep. Totally live, which is why I'm reading your stupid comment. It took my therapist to point out what he is. Yeah. A lot of times people don't see it or understand it. I'm glad the therapist got to actually see it. Abandoned his 5 kids 3 years ago. Now they are broken. They love him and they miss him. Yeah, that's the hardest part when they're looking at him and idealizing him. Sometimes you just got to realize how far people are willing to take it and match that energy. Yeah, I'd be careful about that. My question is, how did I become best friends with a narcissist without knowing she was a narcissist after almost a decade? Only after the betrayal of making a move on my husband did I see it at all. A lot of times you won't see it, especially if they're like covert. Wow, I'm like really behind on comments. Okay. Coming as far as you have, do you have empathy at all, or is it just cognitive? A big part of it is cognitive for sure. There's different levels of empathy that have been coming up more and more inside the whole process. I'm just trying to catch up. Why did they lie about leaving you when you left them so they don't feel bad about themselves, so they don't deal with the shame and the guilt? Why haven't you cured your narcissism yet, and how did you get diagnosed? So I got diagnosed through therapy, and I have been working on curing my narcissism. As far as like how I show up compared to how I used to show up, completely different. Inside of this, it's a big piece of helping educate people on it, and also having people know the label doesn't matter. The abuse that they're accepting is. It's one of the themes we've talked about some tonight. When you don't break no contact, how does the narcissist feel, react? Sometimes there's this piece of defeat because he can't break through, he can't get you, and he's trying to be able to have that control. Do narcissists ever feel love or remorse? Any type of remorse or guilt is compartmentalized and put in the back. They can't feel love without lowering the ego. Just dropped in to say hello. Is Jen from Thriver to Survivor, Survivor to Thriver. I'm working out, looking forward to listening to my lesson this evening. Awesome. Jen, I'm so glad to be able to see you here. Great job. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Tell me what's the easiest way. Okay, no, we're not focused on that. Does the narcissist mother care about their daughter? I would look at the actions, look at their responses. Oftentimes they are not showing that, or they're not demonstrating that. Okay. Why do I feel so drained after spending time with the narcissist, even though we aren't talking so much? Energetically, your body's going to know, and it's actually going to rob you of energy. What do narcissists hate the most? Shame and guilt. Then the extreme end, you cannot comprehend. You can just really understand how to control them. Some of these comments I'm trying to catch up with, and I don't understand them. Okay. Do you have any videos on how narcissists deprive you of sleep? That would be more sociopath than psychopath, but yeah, it's a piece of control. What about the mom saying honor your mother and father when they are a narcissist? Yeah, you can still honor them by setting up healthy boundaries so you're not enabling them to continue to abuse you. When will the narcissist stop chasing? You manipulate my mom after no contact. A lot of times when there's nothing left to chase or no other way to be able to get to you. Should I try to fix the problem? Ex-narcissist was not seeing his kids. They're adults in over 4 years and they really miss him. What should I do about it? Diane, nothing. You should focus on your own healing and you should focus on being there for your kids, but you shouldn't try to be the person to patch it up with a toxic person for your kids. You actually hurt them more and they'll have less respect for you. Why do you think the narcissism is so prevalent now? Because everybody knows everything about social media and it's communicated a lot more now. Can you do a piece on having your ex-narcissist in a small town? The biggest piece inside of that is focus on the healing. Like, people that I've worked with have healed so much that they can interact or see this person and it wouldn't bother them because they've moved on so far. So like if it's in a small town or a big town, it doesn't matter. Like what you're worried about is running into this person. But if you're healed from it, and you no longer have a trauma and no longer am triggered by this person, it's not gonna affect you. I wish I could expose my narcissistic ex to his friends and family, tell him the kind of gaslighting abuse he's capable of, but I don't think it'd be helpful for my healing. Typically it won't, and a lot of times they wouldn't even understand, where they'd be like, I don't believe it, you know? Inside of this, I have a couple of videos come out next week or the week after that they're actually dealing with that a little bit. What are some of the signs of knowing if you are a narcissist? Like if I was questioning myself, Gabby, one of the things I would say is look up my nine diagnostic traits or look up the DSM-5 video that I have because it's going to walk you through all 9. Right, it's going to walk you through the need for affirmation, the admiration, admiration. I was thinking affirmation, admiration, the piece of like manipulation, thinking that himself is like special or looking down on other people. Like there's a lot of different pieces and nuances to it, but looking at the nine diagnostic traits would be very helpful. Can you elaborate on the mother and scapegoat-daughter relationship? Does the mother care? Does the mother demonstrate care? That's all that matters. Do I know if the mom cares? No. But I look at the actions and I see, well, she hasn't shown that she cares. So therefore, she does not care. Because if I care for someone, I'm going to demonstrate it. If I don't care for someone, it's going to come out in my actions. I had to ask this, but what is a narcissist? So there's 9 diagnostic traits that go into it. I was going to like walk through them. I don't have the DSM-5 pulled up. I like going through the DSM-5 because then people are like, oh, that's what it actually is. Because otherwise, there's so many people that want to have... different explanations, but the explanations don't really matter versus just like what exactly it is. I can pull it up. Because I'd rather give you the full one. People are like, why don't you have it memorized? It's not really something I'm like focused on. pulling up. What is the difference between a narcissist and a sociopath? The delineation, a lot of times people will be like, sociopaths are the ones that are in jail. But a lot of times you'll have sociopaths that are going to have a higher disregard for authority, and they're going to be more abrasive, more abusive inside of some of that. They're very, very, very similar in a lot of ways. So it's hard to be able to see on either side of what it actually looks like because they're very, very similar. Gonna pull it up. I don't have my regular thing here in front of me because I like going through all nine. There we go. I think narcissist sometimes is just a kid version of a narcissist. And what I mean is that they don't have much power. When narcissists ghost you and never contact you again, do they think you're not worthy? They think they're not worthy, which is why they haven't shown up anymore, but they don't really care about your worth, right? You need to understand, like, it's not about your worth, it's about him. Should I give up on my relationship with someone who's narcissistic? If he's not honest, vulnerable, and showing consistent change, then yeah, you should focus on yourself and move forward. My narcissist disgusted me. He said, I can't stop messaging. I should block him. Why wouldn't he just block me? Because he doesn't care about you. So why would he block you? If he doesn't respect you, why would he block you? He's still getting triggered. He's still triggering you to get him a reaction response. Do I need to tell the truth to my kid that he trapped me with pregnancy? What should I tell my child? You should tell your child the truth. You should tell your child the most truth that you can possible without minimizing it, so that the kid doesn't grow up later and be like, oh, you didn't tell me about this, right? Because that's a big piece that'll actually pull you apart. You talk about how therapy helped in a way of how you show up, but does it help in changing how you feel, or is a constant conscious effort to monitor your behavior? It's not necessarily a constant effort now to be able to monitor the behavior because of all the work that I've done in and out of therapy. Therapy has been a tool inside of it, but it hasn't been everything. What's the difference between a covert narcissist and a narcissist? How much you see on the outside. A lot of times covert or like vulnerable narcissists, you're going to see them not want to be the center of attention, but still be the center of attention. You're going to see them not want to be the drama, but still be all in the drama. You're going to see them do more things of like passive aggressiveness, small, subtle things, more quiet aspect versus like outright raging and like yelling at you. When you look at different pieces inside the DSM-5, when you're talking about narcissistic personality disorder, you're looking at pieces of a lack of empathy, is unwilling to acknowledge or identify with the feelings and needs of others. You're typically looking at a sense of entitlement, excessive need for admiration, grandiose sense of self-importance, exploitative behavior, arrogant behavior, attitude, exploitative in different relationships, fantasies about having or like deserving. Oftentimes it has this piece of like grandiosity. Chronic feelings of like emptiness, boredom. You can have different aspects of like envy, identity disturbance. That's not with the 9 traits, but it is a piece of it. And then lack of attachment, intimacy. That's not with the 9 traits either. A sense of specialness or uniqueness. That's part of it as well. It's annoying because even when you like pull it up, because I was just like Googling on my iPad, which is not my normal one, you don't really have really good stuff. Oh, there we go. Grandiose sense of self-importance, frequent fantasies about having or deserving success, power, intelligence, beauty, love, self-fulfillment, belief in superiority, need for admiration, entitlement, willingness to exploit others, lack of empathy, frequent envy, and arrogance. There we go. That's probably like the best concise list so far. Would you mind if you know, could you tell me the playlist of your DSM-5 video is in, figuring out if you yourself are a narcissist, questioning myself. So just Google raw motivation DSM-5, like DSM, I think -V, or like 9 traits. Why would my narcissist ex say I need to block him when I wanted answers? Why wouldn't he just block me? Doesn't care about you, so why would he? Do they ever regret later on in life? Typically, no. They're just gonna get to a place where they're like old and lonely, right? And they'll just find a way to be able to blame on everyone else. Would you recommend an autistic adult with CPTSD use narcissistic traits to protect themselves from bullies and abusers? No. Like based on the 9 traits I just listed off, I wouldn't suggest any of that. I'd suggest you to actually like heal, because that doesn't look like being a narcissist. What gets a narcissist to seek therapy? Nothing. There's no magic bullet that actually gets them to seek therapy. The biggest thing is you walking away and focusing on you. That could be one thing that might trigger him, but otherwise there's no guarantee. Can narcissists be both covert and grandiose, fluctuating between both? Yes, I was more grandiose inside the workplace, but more covert just as far as like life. How do you stop the cycle if each time you go back, there's constant rumination and hope? My narcissist has extreme similarities to my father. Am I holding on to due to a subconscious reason? 100%. That's the trauma bond, and that's why you keep cycling back. So until we actually help you break the trauma bond, which we have to deal with the triggers, the emotions, the feelings, to get down to the subconscious programming of what's happening to help you rewire it. Big process inside of everything Raw Motivations does is help you rewire. If we don't help you rewire the thought process, you're going to keep cycling back over and over and over again. You can learn more about that. You can book a free call with me at rawmotivations.com/breakthrough, just to be able to see a little bit what I do and for us to be able to talk, build a plan for your healing. Can someone with the antisocial personality who's already been an invert, or are they all extroverts? Yeah, they could be an introvert. Does narcissist hate you for loving him? He doesn't care about you. That's the biggest thing. He cares about the love that he's getting from you and how it makes him feel versus you loving him or not loving him. He cares about what he's getting. Was married to a Christian husband who ruined my life and adults, kids. I left him 3 months ago. He never even asked me once if I come back, but I still struggle with it. A big piece is like still trauma bond there that are holding you hostage. Do narcissists use the nagging technique, or is that more psychopath techniques? Yeah, they could use nagging as well. Can you give examples of what you did that were traits of narcissism? Oh, did I catch up? I think I actually caught up. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to be able to catch up. I think I actually caught up all the questions. So sorry if there's been such a lag. Giving examples of different traits. Well, the empathy piece was easy because I didn't care about anyone else except for myself. The grandiose sense of self-importance. I was the best at what I did, and I thought everybody else was an idiot. I thought everybody else was stupid. Frequencies about success or having deserving. For me, the fantasies were for ideal love, right? I was looking for this like ideal love and image. Couldn't find it with this person, so go to the next person. They didn't have it, so go to the next person, that type of thing. Belief in superiority, kind of touched on that with the grandiosity, but I thought I was special. I was unique. I was really good at everything I did inside of business. I was magic with any type of technology. I could fix just about anything. It just didn't matter. I could just do it, right? Need for admiration. Always wanted to have people admire me as far as like, I'd have different pieces where I'd be very critical about myself, looking for other people to pump me up, right? Like I wanted to have someone else build me up, but I didn't know how to do it myself. Entitlement, big piece inside of that. Thinking that I should get things from other people regardless of how I showed up, right? They expected a certain level of loyalty even if I wasn't loyal to them. Willingness to exploit others, using different relationships and people to be able to get what I wanted, whether that was image, whether that was sex, whether that was esteem, like whatever it might be. I was using other people to be able to get what I wanted. I talked about the lack of empathy. Envy, that's a big one too. Like always imagining and projecting that others were envious of me. Like, oh yeah, that person's envious of my life, or they wish that I had what I have. Like different pieces. Like it'd be weird of like walking down the street and being like, someone looked at me and be like, yeah, they're thinking about me. Then when they probably didn't have a clue about me, but I was thinking that, right? And then I was extremely arrogant. Do they fake sadness when you leave? Oftentimes they do, just to be able to get you back. You're so welcome. What is the difference between a narcissist and a sociopath? So I don't have the whole piece in front of me. They're very, very, very similar. What I would say is the label isn't what matters as much as how you're actually getting affected by it. Do you keep waving hello when you see each other? I wouldn't. If the guy's toxic, like why would you even interact with him? Focus on you. Here's the thing inside of everything we do. We have to be able to get you to shift. Right? Most of you are so fixated on the narcissist. You're so fixated on this guy. The big thing that has to happen is we have to be able to help you actually shift your perspective off of him and onto you. If you do not focus on you, you disappear. Like you disintegrate from the person you actually were to becoming just his slave, to becoming a victim, to becoming someone who doesn't actually heal. Like there has to be this switch. That's what all of our programs, that's what's working and me focusing on. We have to have you learn how to be able to focus on you. Many of you can't even focus on you because you feel bad. You feel shame, you feel guilt because you were taught that. You were trained that, whether it's from childhood, whether it's from the relationship. It was implanted into you subconsciously that you taking care of you was selfish. Right? So a big thing inside of the healing process is learning how to be able to take care of yourself, learning how to be able to have healthy self-care, healthy self-respect, healthy self-esteem, but being able to focus on it instead of focusing on him because you're giving so much time and attention towards him. A real narcissist does not know that they're narcissists. Classic. A lot of people will say that, but then why is there so many self-aware narcissists that are actually working on healing? And yeah, Otherwise, you're in a place that, well, if they never know, then no one's ever going to change. Nothing's ever going to happen. And I don't know. I just love that thought. I already see through it, which is why I don't play the game. Good. Like, the narcissist wants you to play the game, but the problem is you waste so much time playing a game that you cannot win. So many times people are like, how do I win? How do I beat him at his own game? You stop playing, right? That's the biggest thing, is you're playing a game with a toxic guy who keeps rewriting the rules, who keeps shifting the rules as you're continuing to play. And you're like, why can't I win? Well, it's because every time you make a move, he tells you that move was stupid. He tells you that move was bad. He tells you that move, well, that doesn't count, right? He's always changing the rules. So the biggest thing is you're trying to figure out, how do I beat him at his game? Stop playing. You're playing the game. You're stepping into his arena being like, why can't I win? Well, the game's already stacked against you, right? The dealer already has like a fixed deck. And as a result, he's going to get whatever he wants. But you're like, but I want to win at his game. When you get too fixated on winning at his game, that's more ego-based than it is healing. Because healing says, okay, if I'm going to actually step back, let him quote unquote win at whatever he wants to win, that's fine, because that's his dead-end life that he's going to live. But I'm going to actually win at my life, which means I'm going to heal, grow, change, and develop my life. Anything I said to my narcissist always makes out that I'm disrespectful when I tell him how I feel about him. Is that common? He wants you to feel and be trained to know that anytime you bring up how you feel about him, it's disrespectful, so that you'll stop bringing stuff up. Like, what he's trying to get you to know and understand is, every time you bring something up that convicts me, that makes me feel bad, that makes me feel guilt or shame, let's not do that. And the easiest way is making sure that you know that you're being disrespectful. So he's going to do different things like that to downplay the things that you're doing and downplay how you're feeling. What causes narcissism? Are people born with it? I think people are born with the possibility and the tendency, and then how they're actually raised will nurture that in one way or the other. Yeah, you could have different pieces of emotional neglect. You could have different pieces of having a kid that's spoiled. You could have different emotional trauma, different types of trauma. Yeah, there's a lot of different things, but it comes back to the piece of the relationship with guilt and shame. And so people are like, how are they all the same? Well, it's because they're all running from shame and guilt. They don't want to deal with it. So it's easier to deflect, to gaslight, to project, to do everything than it is actually be accountable. Are you a Christian? Did God help you heal, or did you do it all by yourself? I don't think a narcissist could heal without God. I think that's impossible. Like, I think therapy, God, a lot of other different pieces that I invested time, money, and attention into help shift my mindset. You're born with a temperament, but environment triggers it. There, I should have had you answer. That was better. In your former narcissistic days, did you hold back a girl's hair when they were vomiting? I don't know. I have no clue. I don't remember being with someone who was vomiting. I probably would have, just so I could have been like the nice guy and then use that later. I don't know. Kayla said not with her because she didn't want to be touched whenever she was feeling bad. And the worst is when they would vent to you, they expect you to listen to them, and when you try to talk to them, they just walk away. 100%, because it's all about him, it's not about you. There is no former days. She's talking to me, and yeah, there is former days. If you're new here, I'm a self-aware narcissist that has shifted, has transformed who I was 5 years ago compared to now. It's massively different. But I'm not here to prove that to you. Otherwise, my wife wouldn't have ever come back, because she came back because of my behavior being different. Is cheating a sign of narcissism? It is not one of the diagnostic 9, right, that you can look at. But does cheating normally happen? Yeah, because when you have someone who is full of arrogance, who's envious of others, who lacks empathy, who's willing to exploit others, who is entitled, who has a need for admiration, belief in superiority, frequent fantasies about deserving whatever he wants, and then a grandiose sense of self, yeah, cheating a lot of times comes along with it. How I feel is my doing and not, I don't even know what that means. When will narcissists reach the point of realization? I don't know. There's not a specific turn, you know? At this date and time when the moon strikes this way, like, they oftentimes are not going to realize it if they're not willing to actually be honest. What made you try to heal and take the first step towards healing? A lot of different things. Inside of it was understanding that I was different. I processed things different. I worked in different things differently. I didn't care about people, and I admitted it. Like, it was a piece that I started to realize and understand, like, hey, even going through different personality tests and things inside of work, I was like, I don't connect the same with other people. Like, I don't interact with people the other way. And I remember asking and telling my wife one time, we were cleaning the kitchen, there was like, I don't even know how many years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I don't know. It was a while ago. I was like, maybe I'm a sociopath, right? That's what I first said. Because I was like, I just don't really care about other people. Like, I don't really care what like is going on, what's happening. I don't have a lot of that empathy. And she was like, maybe you're a narcissist. We looked it up and I was like, nah, not a narcissist, that's for sure. But it ended up being different pieces that I learned from Brene Brown's book, Daring Greatly. I was introduced to shame. Didn't really think I had shame, didn't know anything about shame. Read a different book called Emotional Intelligence at that point and started seeing like, hey, I don't know how to handle emotions. I don't know how to work through emotions. Eventually went to a sex addiction intensive. That's what people thought was one of the pieces that might be wrong with me. Turns out it wasn't. It was narcissism. And inside of that, like also started to do different types of therapy. So did EMDR therapy for 6 months and then like regular talk therapy for the past 4.5, going on 5 years. You can be aware, but the narcissistic tendencies don't go away. Good on you for being aware. So tendencies can go away with honesty. Like, I'm not abusive to my wife. I don't cheat on my wife. I don't lie to my wife. I don't manipulate my wife. I don't gaslight my wife, right? So there's a lot of things that have shifted. You can watch all different kinds of content that I have about that. You can listen to my podcast. But again, I'm not on here to justify it to you. Frankly, I don't care if you believe me or not. What I believe is how much I've shifted. What I believe is how much my wife has seen I've shifted. And what I believe is how I actually show up for my family now. That's completely different than what it's ever been before. Or my wife 2 years ago, Christmas, looked at me in the kitchen and was like, this has been one of the best years we've ever had. Why? Because I didn't show up as an abusive asshole. There's a difference. There's a shift inside of me. And this has not just been, oh, magic, come to Jesus moment, then all better. No, we're talking about multiple years. Right? I said going on 5 years inside of therapy. That's been for the like good four plus of that. That's been therapy every single week. It's been over, at this point, over $200,000 that's been invested into therapy, into coaching, into mentorship, into accountability programs, into different pieces to help me shift my mindset, my thought process. My grandmother's a narcissist. She had notebooks filled with things she bought for us. Whenever I try to confront her about something, she would read from that book. What does that mean? It means you're just trying to leverage whatever she paid for to be able to get you to ignore how she was showing up. Have you ever developed and effectively felt empathy as a result of therapy or felt empathy for low or no empathy people? Or are you just permanently stuck without empathy? So I have empathy as far as inside of the piece of like cognitive empathy, 100% that's there. Emotional empathy, like I don't have to have the same empathy as everybody else, right? And that's a piece that I've had to learn, I've had to get used to, right? I don't have to have empathy where I'm sitting across from someone else and they start crying and I start crying. They don't. Can I still feel for them? Yeah. Can I still hold space for them? Yeah. Can I be listening to a song and all of a sudden have tears come? Yeah. Why? Because there's this piece inside of it that doesn't have to look or act a certain way. Like I've struggled with that for years. And part of that I struggled with that for years because even growing up, because my parents would be like, well, you're not sad enough. Like, I don't think you're actually repentant about this because you didn't cry, right? Different pieces that were placed upon me, different expectations that even now I'm trying to work through. But there's different levels of empathy that have kicked off and different pieces that have healed internally that's massively different. What is your therapy like? How long does it take to heal? How long it takes to heal is dependent on how much work and how much honesty you're willing to put in. Right? My therapy has been a piece of my journey. God has been a piece of my journey. Meditation has been a piece of my journey. Stacking has been a piece of my journey. Accountability has been a piece of my journey. There's a lot of different pieces to it. Would I say it's all been therapy? No. Would I say therapy has been a big piece? Yes. Notice porn addiction. I don't know if that's a part of it. So porn addiction is sedation, right? There's a piece inside of there that's just sedation, right? He's just sedating. He's just hiding different things. It's like, is narcissism underneath? Possibly, but it's just another addiction that's on top. Like you said, God helps people turn, especially after losing something they wanted. I don't think I said that. God helps people turn, especially after losing something they wanted. Nope, I didn't say that. Inside of it, like, God is willing to support someone who actually wants to be honest, but God's not a narcissist forcing other people to change. Once divorced, how will he react to me being with a new person that makes me really happy? There's one piece of that you don't even care, right? You want to focus on you being happy, not is he upset that I'm happy now? Like, do you see that? That still puts you in a victim mindset, still puts you attached back to him. Did you really believe you're a genius knowing everything? I wouldn't say I was a genius, but yeah, I thought I knew everything. How does guilt and shame show up in narcissism? That's all that narcissism is built on. It's running away from guilt and shame. It's putting up different masks. It's putting up different things inside of it so that they can run away from it. I deal with shame and codependency. Tawny, would love you to have you reach out. You can go to realmotivations.com. We can help you work with a lot of that. Not a narcissist for sure. You're proof that people can shift with honesty, 100%. Anyone can shift with honesty. Not saying you're a bad person. I'm not saying you are either. I own who I am and what I've done. What about your former partners? What about them? That didn't really ask a question. I have a question. Well, put the question instead of telling me you have a question. Well, narcissist rage, even though I'm not going to admit to him that he is a narcissist, but said only God could help as you're disconnected from your soul. Or narcissist rage, even though I'm not going to admit to him that he is a narcissist, but said only God could help as you're disconnected from your soul. I don't understand that question. Will he rage because you said that? I don't know. Should I tell my husband that he needs to seek therapy because he could be a narcissist? No, I would say like focus on the honesty piece. Like focus on everything else except for the label. Like it'd be like, hey, you need to go do this and it's going to be like amputating your arm and yeah, it's going to suck. But like eventually if you work really hard at it, you might get better. Like you don't walk into that being like, let's lead with that leading argument. Lead with something that's smaller to be able to see if he's actually willing to work on himself. Do you have kids? Yes, we have 2. Did you also have avoidant personality? Yeah, there has been a lot of avoidant for sure. Do narcissists feel shame at all? This is the biggest thing that narcissists are running away from. Cognitive empathy, could you clarify that? So cognitive empathy is knowing and understanding. It's like the logical side of like, hey, this person is struggling with this. Yes, that would suck if they were in this situation or whatever it might be. The emotional empathy and intelligence is being able to provide different emotional support, or I'll refer to it a lot of times as being able to hold space, right? Like I've learned how to be able to hold space in a lot of different areas for my wife compared to where I would never hold any space. There's still stuff that I struggle with. Yeah, 100%. But there's a difference inside of showing up and trying to work through that now. Do you think narcissism is a spectrum or all people are narcissists? I don't think all people are narcissists, and it is on a spectrum. I think I have narcissistic traits. I crave the narcissistic relationship and attach myself to them. That doesn't have anything to do with your traits. It has to do with the fact that you either have been trauma bonded and haven't healed it, or you're used to the chaos and you haven't actually learned what peace looks like. So you're constantly going back to the same toxicity. So if you can change, can my ex? How would I know if he's actually able to change healing? So I'm not here to give you hope that he's going to change. I'm here to give you hope that you can heal. I'm not here to give you hope that he can change. I'm here to give you hope that you can heal. Because if he's not if he's not willing to be honest, vulnerable, and show this consistency inside his healing process, walk away. Stop wasting your time with someone who can't even admit the basic piece that he's a liar. This is the piece that you have to focus on: your healing, your growth, and your development. Can he change? Sure. Is he willing to be honest, showing up consistent, showing up vulnerable? Haven't seen it. So then why keep justifying being like, but Ben changed, so maybe if I stick around a little bit longer. No, I'm not on here to give you some false hopes that you stick longer in an abusive relationship. I'm on here to show you that if I can change, means you can heal too. So you can notice and think from another person's perspective on a cognitive level to be able to respond to another person's situation. Would you ever be able to take care of a sick person like your wife? Yeah. You don't speak to them, but you always see them. Do you live alone and go your own way? Yeah, I would focus on you focusing on you. Are there avoidant narcissists? 100%. Do you feel any connection to God? I feel big connection to God. Biggest piece inside the journey for sure. What's the traits of an avoidant narcissist? Same as the regular narcissist. Don't get caught up in all the different variants and the nuances of it. How long did it take your wife to trust you again? Bravo for all the work. So she came back first to be able to get close, and then was like, there's something different here. Let me give it a week. And she gave it another week, another week. Has there still been triggering stuff over the years? Yeah, 100%. But there's a different piece inside of what we're working through and what we're working towards now compared to before. It's just like constant triggers, constant blowups because I wasn't shifting. I wasn't owning who I actually was. So like part of her trust had to stem from the fact of me having ownership of how I showed up, what I did, how I affected her, and then ownership of stuff in the moment of like, yeah, you're right. I'm gaslighting in this moment. Or, yeah, you're right. I'm avoiding this in the moment. That kind of stuff. I meant you said God helped shift you, and I add the fact that narcissists shift are triggered to shift by losing something they wanted, like their family. I wouldn't go so far to say that. Like, there was a piece of me that when Kayla left, I was like, good, now I can go do what I want to do. Like, I wasn't triggered to like have this magical, like, I have to change now because my wife left. I was left alone as far as like, there's no one else I could blame. But there wasn't this like, oh, this big come to Jesus moment of like, I should shift now. Avoidant, do narcissists ghost? A lot of times narcissists will ghost. Narcissists change all the time. So you say they can't change, but the problem is you see them change for you to the next relationship, to the next relationship. They change their story all the time. The bigger question is, do they transform? And no one can transform without truth. No one can transform without honesty. You can't heal without truth and honesty. A narcissist can't heal without truth and honesty. If there's not truth and honesty as a baseline, nothing happens. Ultimate truth is from God. You can't heal without having truth in your life, without having honesty. The biggest piece is majority of people don't want to be honest about where they are. This is why people stay stuck in a toxic relationship, because they don't want to admit the shit that they're in. This is why a narcissist won't actually heal and grow and develop himself, because he doesn't want to admit how he actually is, how he's actually showing up. Narcissists change all the time. The real question is, do they transform? They typically don't, because they're not willing to be honest. Is it a sin to divorce a narcissistic husband? I don't believe so. Instead of spending your time around fighting them, getting nowhere, just get rehabilitation. I'm glad God revealed what is happening with my husband, but he isn't willing to admit it or get help. Unfortunately, I'm scared because I've noticed I have changed, and I didn't see the rest of them. Do not recognize my own self. I've been screaming and gaslighted so many times I feel like I'm losing my cognitive memory. So Brandy, reach out, because part of that is the trauma bond, and part of that is going to leave you stuck in the same cycle until we break you out of it completely. Like, you're seeing it now, and so now we need to do something about it. It was the focus on the healing piece. So reach out. Go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Just watch a quick video there. It gives you an opportunity to fill out an application, book a free call for us to be able to sit down and have a conversation, where you're at, what's going on. What I worry about is I'm afraid of is my therapist asked if he'd be willing to attend couples therapy, and I feel like he may act like the victim and shift everything as my fault. Should I allow him to attend? Julian, I would say no. And frankly, if your therapist thinks that he's a narcissist and they're inviting him into a couples therapy, the therapist is probably an idiot. Simply because it's one of the worst places to be with a toxic partner, because he's going to put on a mask and act and look a certain way while still abusing you at home. I never recommend people with a narcissist to go to couples therapy. Is a narcissist traits think one thing but says the opposite? Oftentimes they are very hypocritical. My husband has notes with feelings of disgust towards me. He writes wanting someone else, not happy with me, but he denies it. Biggest thing, again, we're going back to is he's just a liar. Is it narcissistic to consider yourself? You can divorce, but you can't remarry. Speak for yourself. That's what you believe. Some people online state narcissists don't ever take care of the sick or disabled, but you would be of value to the sick and disabled since learning the concept of what's right to do. So there's a lot of narcissists that will take care of sick and disabled to be able to get the validation. So you'd see this more of like covert, vulnerable, or communal, right? You're going to see this of like, oh, I'm serving, so therefore I get something out of it, right? That's a lot of times what you'll see where the narcissist is like the sick, right? He's helping the sick, he's helping the disabled, he's helping someone work through whatever because he's still getting supply from that person. Narcissistic person have a victim mentality. A lot of times they do. What's the line between full-blown narcissist and just being an asshole? I definitely have narcissistic traits, but I do accept fault and have shame in my actions. Yet I can flip and be statistically cold, no issues. So the biggest thing is, what are you working on actually shifting and adjusting that? I don't care about the label. I care about your willingness and you actually taking action to heal and grow and develop yourself. It took me 4 to 4 years to understand why I was dealing with shame, and that's why I tapped out of relationships. After this realization, I'm afraid of the repeat. I'm doing the self-work, but very avoidant. I'm trying a support group, but lost my want to date. So Tawny, reach out. Would love to talk to you. What happens if you report the narcissist, get a restraining order on them? I did this twice to my ex. I gave him a second chance, then got worse. I report him again. He didn't expect this. I would keep reporting until he gets thrown in jail, so he's completely out of your life. Why did he blame me for not putting his name on the birth certificate? Because I don't want him. Is this part of manipulation? Yes. When will I know I'm healed? When he's no longer triggering and affecting you. I come to the realization I'm abstract thinking, so it's hard for me to understand narcissistic point of view. It's going to be hard for you to understand narcissistic point of view as well because you don't think like him. It's not a bad thing, right? It just means that all of it is not going to make 100% sense. I'm just never going to back down on the path of narcissists. I know it's like, okay. Husband on multiple accounts has said he doesn't care about my thoughts or feelings. Is there a way to get him to listen or be considerate to me? No, there's not. Wake up to the reality that he doesn't care because you've already let him know a million times that he's not willing to listen to you, right? Like you keep talking to the wall, expecting the wall to give you a hug. It hasn't happened yet. So like how many times do you have to say it until you realize you need to start focusing on you? Can a narcissist have a trauma bond from a dead husband or wife? No, I don't think so. The trauma bond is more active. Could a survivor? Yeah, but a narcissist doesn't really develop trauma bonds with other people. As I woke up, literally thought I was going insane, and I hope that that's all it was, but it's the hardest reality to accept, but I do see the top of the hill ways off still there. Jane, reach out. Let's have a conversation. Like go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Let's have a conversation, see where you're at, and be able to help you move forward. Brandy, same thing. Like let's have a conversation this week. You can set up a free call and we can talk. Can I heal? I'm losing my cognitive memory from the mental and emotional abuse. If we focus on the healing, some of that will come back. I've seen that come back many times in a lot of women that I've worked with. I think I'm never turning back, definitely, that's for sure. And we don't want you to go back. What got you into therapy wasn't necessarily one particular thing. If you want to, you can listen to my origin story. You can go to Raw Motivations. It's not there. It's on my podcast. So you can go to my podcast, which is Real and Raw with Ben Taylor. Completely different podcast, and you can search origin story. It'll kind of walk you through all the different pieces there. Great questions. If you guys are stuck in this piece of the trauma bond, the confusion, the guilt, the shame, a lot of what we do is help you actually work on breaking the trauma bond, eradicating the triggers, and getting your power back. Like being able to stand up in confidence, having clarity about situations, being able to move forward with certainty. You can do all this at rawmotivations.com. Like we'd love to be able to show you and help you understand more of what I do, but also how I can help work with you to build a plan. If you go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough, it gives you an opportunity to see and understand a little bit of what I do, fill an application, and book a free call. We can sit down tomorrow. We can sit down this next week, right? To be able to see a couple things. We talk about where you are, how it's affecting you, talk about what you actually want, where we need to go, and then we talk about what needs to happen to be able to bridge the gap. That's what the whole conversation is. So you walk away with a plan. So you know for sure what you can actually do to start healing, growing, developing you. What does narcissistic feel or get out of pushing victims to a breaking point, melting down, or self-harm? Control. It's just control. It's control and helping the internal image validation piece of like, I have control over that person. The abuse can cause susceptible to memory loss, 100%. A lot of times it'll affect memory. It'll affect it'll affect different pieces of cognitive functions because it'll affect your body, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, like physically, all different types of things. And your body will keep that, like your body knows the score, like it's going to keep the abuse inside of it till you learn how to be able to get rid of it. He calls me a narcissist. I'm the one who's counseling him mentally abused for 38 years. He's always going to project on you because he has to feel better of himself, right? Like I had to feel better about myself, so I had to tell other people that they were less than. I had to tell my wife that she was a narcissist, that she was toxic, I was emotionally safe, right? There had to be something I would say that would make me feel better about myself, which meant other people had to be worse than me. Do you think you are serving God with what you're doing now? I think God is using your experience to help many people. 100%. This is definitely where God has called me to be and where I'm supposed to be. I know that for sure. My ex was thrown in jail a total of 4 times. He didn't pay child support, completely erased our baby and me, left me knowing I have nobody and not even helping pay. Yeah, a lot of times they will just completely flake on you. Can a narcissist turn one of their kids into a narcissist? They could. Yeah, I mean, that could be a piece of it. Do narcissists consciously avoid guilt and shame? It's more of just like an automatic knee-jerk effect. Like if you tap the knee with that like reflex piece, it'd be kind of like that. Someday, no money till the divorce is over. Jane, you could even go to escapetoxicity.com. Like that's our $7 challenge. But it gets you connected with the community and starts walking you through some of the concepts, some of the pieces that we teach. Right, there's a lot of different pieces that we have, a lot of different levels that we have where we bring people in to help them heal, grow, and develop. That's escapetoxicity.com. It's our 7-day challenge for $7. You get access basically for like 3 weeks to be able to walk through it. But there's videos from me, there's a community, there's connection there that helps a ton. Got a question. Do you think that someone diagnosed with NPD, that the term gets thrown around way too much? Like, why not just call abusers what they are, abusers? 100%. I think the term is thrown around way too much. And if people just woke up to the fact that they're getting abused versus looking for a label, that we'd have more people actually getting free. But the problem is most people live in confusion and the chaos of being in a toxic relationship versus getting clarity about what's actually affecting them. Will a narcissist call you for non-important things, and when you try to respond, try to talk and get no answer? Yeah, 100%. It's just, it's a baiting technique. That's a way to be able to step into a conversation so that he gets you back, so he can interact with you, so he can trigger you, so he can push you, all different types of things. How did you recognize your narcissist? I'd have you go and listen to Real and Raw with Ben Taylor. It's a podcast, and then go to my origin story. It's going to walk you through the whole piece more in depth than I can go on here. Is it normal for a narcissist to focus on one part of a vulnerable conversation and use it against the other rather than addressing the whole conversation? Yeah, that's to be able to control you, right? It's to be able to control, what do I need to pull? What lever can I pull to be able to control the conversation to make sure that I'm in charge of you in the conversation? X didn't pay child support, then the judge ordered it to be paid through the courts, then the ex started paying double after that, and attaching notes, sorry, I was out of the country, it was late. Why? Could be trying to justify what he did, could be trying to make himself look better, could be trying to get you to reach out. I'd just be grateful that you're getting it and kind of move forward there, because a lot of times you don't even get that. Are narcissistic traits fairly obvious? No, not always. That's why, like, a lot of times we can focus on the traits and go through the diagnostic 9 traits that a person needs to even be diagnosed a narcissist. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing is like the abuse that someone's accepting. It's not really that I can't function in society. I totally can. I just can't function because they are so crazy. If you can't function because they are so crazy, that puts you victim to the other person. It doesn't let you heal. Right? So a piece inside of it is like, you can learn to function despite whatever's happening in your world, but it has to focus on you and the healing process. How do I get away from a narcissist? The biggest thing that we teach is how to break the trauma bond, because you could be away from them physically and still be stuck mentally and emotionally. I sent my narcissist a long text telling him about himself, basically exposing him. He got mad, called me names, said good riddance, and blocked me. Is he finally done with me for good? Possibly. There's a high chance that he might be, but the biggest piece is he's going to be done with you for good when you're done with him. Block, ghost, go no contact. Make sure that you are the one that's like, he doesn't have access, right? The way you know that he's done with you is when he can't even get to you. Does the ex-narcissist boyfriend still think about me or even feel bad for the abuse he put us through? No, he doesn't care, which is why he did it, which is why he continued to do it. If he came back, like, he would continue to do the same exact thing because he doesn't see it and doesn't care about that. He has guilt and shame, but he's compartmentalized everything that he's done, so he doesn't have to own it. He doesn't want to be accountable for it. Do you know what made you a narcissist? It's a lot of different pieces and nuances to it. A lot of it goes back to emotional vulnerability and a piece of having that emotional intelligence and the piece of having emotional safety inside of growing up, when being able to process the guilt and shame and work through it. You guys are having some really good questions tonight. Can you empathize with others? Can you understand other people's perspectives? I can now. I wasn't willing to then. A lot of narcissists, here's an unpopular opinion, okay? But it even comes from the DSM-5 that people don't want to acknowledge. Inside the DSM-5, it says narcissists lack empathy, is unwilling to acknowledge and identify with the feelings and needs of others. Word for word inside of the DSM-5. Now, inside of that, there's a lot of narcissists that have levels of empathy and understand what's going on. They just don't care. You have to understand the other piece inside of this. Not just lacking empathy, is unwilling to acknowledge or identify with the feelings and needs of others. So if I do something that's abusive and I make my wife cry, and she's sitting on the couch and she's crying, there's a piece of me that knows logically she needs comfort and support, right? She's crying. But I don't want to give that, because if I give that, that shows a couple things. One, it validates her feelings, validates that she's crying, and two, it validates the reason of why she's crying comes back to me. That produces shame and guilt, which I don't want to feel, which I don't want to experience. So therefore, that piece of empathy, can't give that empathy, because that empathy actually hurts me. The logic might sound weird to some people. Might sound really, really weird, but that's how it goes through the head. Like, I've had to break it down in such small, like, little steps to have people understand it. A narcissist, oftentimes, there's many narcissists that have empathy, okay? But they're unwilling, that's the biggest piece, unwilling to acknowledge or identify with the feelings and needs of others. So that's the piece. Like, if I triggered my wife and she's on the couch crying, I'm unwilling to walk across there and validate her emotions, because that means it hurts me, quote unquote, right? That's in the victim mentality, right? I'm like, if I validate that, then what's happening is I'm validating the fact that I'm the one that caused that. So I don't want to do that. A lot of times narcissists will have this piece, they can see it, but they're unwilling to acknowledge it and identify with it, because if they did, they'd have to own it all. Husband says I make him motivated to be unloyal, but the fear of God makes him stay. What does that mean? It means he's an abusive asshole that's a cheater and has no loyalty and no self-respect and doesn't know God at all. Because He's just looking to blame you for everything. Like, you motivate him to be unloyal. Like, no, that's bullshit. Right? Like, the therapist had to talk to my wife and she had to say, you didn't put a gun to Ben's head and tell him to go cheat. Right? You are not making your husband do anything. He's a full ass grown man that's making a decision. And his decision is to be unloyal. He just has guilt and shame of his image looking bad, which is why he's saying, but God makes me stay. No, he just doesn't want to look bad leaving. Do you feel regret of how you treated people in the past? Yes. I didn't then because it was compartmentalized, push it aside. If you know your mind is already overworked and everything, there's only so much reading books can do. Yeah, because you need to have action in your life versus just reading, consuming. That's why I don't like people just consuming my content and then they don't do anything about it. Like, I'd rather have someone work with me inside of our challenges than just watch my videos, because so many people watch my videos and then you do nothing with it. Like, I'll go through different videos and I'll give you like tactical step-by-step pieces. And a lot of times people won't do anything with it. And then they wonder like, why am I still stuck? Well, because if you're only consuming content, but you're not putting it into action, nothing's going to change. If ex-narcissist abandoned me or child, does he even care about the well-being of his own kid? No, because he abandoned them. Knowing I have narcissistic parents who don't support me, knowing I have nobody helping me. No, because he doesn't care about you. And I'm saying it that way because I know it sounds like really, really rough, but I want you to see his demonstration, his actions prove the fact that he doesn't care about you. Advice on breaking the trauma bond. We teach this inside of all our courses, how to break the trauma bond. We teach it through the freedom formula, which is trying to dive underneath the triggers that are holding you hostage inside the trauma bond, dealing with the emotions, the feelings, and the subconscious programming, the story that you're telling yourself. The story has to change for you to break the trauma bond. The only reason why the trauma bond exists is because there's still triggers that hold it in place. The trauma bond is different pieces and variations of lies that you believe based on what he's put on you and based on what you've actually believed inside the relationship. Once those break away, once those fall away, the trauma bond no longer exists. So if there's a willingness to be accountable for his actions and own up to things, even if not all the time, does that probably disqualify from being a narcissist? No, not at all. He could still be a narcissist. My advice to break free reality is to hide. Would you mind stop cursing? I've watched this with the family. But don't you own it anyways by acknowledging to yourself that your wife is crying? Yeah, but you don't deal with it. You compartmentalize and push it aside. That's a good question. But you compartmentalize and put it to the side, and you don't show the empathy. You don't acknowledge it, as far as like you don't do anything about it. Why do narcissists enjoy inflicting pain on others? A lot of narcissists don't enjoy inflicting pain on others. It has nothing to do with inflicting pain. It means they're avoiding pain, and as a result, they're hurting you. This is a fallacy that a lot of people believe automatically because it helps them feel better about the fact that they're getting abused. Not a lot of narcissists are focused on inflicting pain. They're focused on saving themselves pain. And if that means someone else has pain, they're like, well, at least I didn't get hurt. It reflects shame and guilt to those that be forced to feeling those emotions. Is that right? Yeah. Can I call you? Yeah, you can go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Watch a quick video there, fill an application, book a free call so we can talk and see what's going on. So it sounds like you have the capacity to feel guilt and shame very deeply. All narcissists do, which is why all narcissists are running away from shame. Shame avoidance is at the core of narcissistic personality disorder. I can't differentiate if I left a narcissist or a dismissive avoidant. How has that person affected you? I don't care about the label. Yes, you could get the label, but it won't actually help you heal. I've never had the label help someone heal. What I've had them help heal is them see and understand with radical acceptance what was done to them, what happened to them, and then what they want for their life. Whether that person was a narcissist or dismissive avoidant doesn't matter. What matters is the abuse that you accepted and what you're going to do about it now. Is it hopeful if he's willing to do couples counseling again, did 7 weeks together, then he did 3 weeks himself, but now he doesn't like how the therapist called him out, but we'll go back to couples. So Sarah, the only reason why he wants to go back to couples is because there's less accountability and he can gaslight the therapist more. If he's not willing to work on himself for a long period of time, I would never go to couples counseling with a narcissist. I would never suggest it. The first couples counseling that we went to was awful. And my wife walked away feeling more guilt and shame, feeling more blame, simply because the guy was an idiot. And the fact that when we went, I was just projecting and putting a face on. Like I was looking like the good guy there and making her look and feel like the bad person. My narcissist husband is in therapy. Seems like it's working. He's trying as a genuine. Time will tell. And the ability to be able to be honest and actually work on himself and seeing those differences happen inside of lifetime versus you keep bringing up the same things and they keep happening over and over again. Not trying to be mean, but could you stop? Yeah, I already saw that. You helped understand. I thought my husband had gobs more empathy than me, but he was so easy to connect. A lot of times that is fake vulnerability, where he's bringing up stuff from the past or he's opening up different things and orchestrating it. Yep, you got it there. Why do narcissists try to compete and one-up you on everything that you do? A lot of times it's the shame and the guilt piece and trying to keep their image looking better. I think you wanted to hurt me, wanted to feel like a hero. Yeah. Do narcissists always want to be better in the relationship? Yeah, 100%. Like they're more focused on their own mindset, their own self-validation, like their ego really is like the big piece. I got a serious question. What if you give up and give the narcissist all the power in the custody battle and refuse to care anymore? I mean, the biggest thing inside that is you just have to count the cost of what that's going to do to the kids. Like, that's the biggest piece that you have to consider. And that's your own personal opinion and decision. Inside of it, I would highly recommend that if you have the kids 50-50, then that's at least when they're with you, they have a 100% healed and solid parent versus being in a toxic narcissistic household or with a narcissist that's toxic all the time. If I'm nervous about being a narcissist, could you give 3 examples of how you could tell? There's the 9 diagnostic traits. You'd have to go through those and be able to see. Well, how do you actually show up with it? It's not a piece where I'm going to be like, hey, you asked, so therefore you're not. No, you could be. But the piece inside of it is how do you actually look at it and how do you actually start working on you? Can they blame you for what they have done? Yes. They say they don't want to be nor look like the bad person. All narcissists don't. But I own up to mistakes and try to fix it, but nothing has been good nor happy. Yeah, a lot of times it's not going to shift because no matter how much you own up to stuff, if he's not owning up to stuff, it won't do anything. How long does it take to see a serious change in narcissists, assuming they actually want to? Long period of time. And Sarah, going back to that question with the therapist, if he's not willing to stay in his own therapy for a long period of time, I wouldn't even bat an eye at like staying with him for another moment. Right? If all he wants to do is get into couples, like that's the biggest red flag for me totally out of everything you said. As long as he wants to get into couples, but he's not willing to continue his own personal therapy, like forget it. Because it shows he's not willing to invest in him, but he's like, oh, well, we have a communication problem. We have like issues as a couple. We both have different problems. We're both show up toxic. He's trying to share the blame. He's trying to spread it out so he doesn't feel bad about himself. So he actually doesn't heal. He doesn't work on himself. Is a narcissist innate mental disorder or a learned behavior that can be undone? I think anything can be undone with honesty. Why does he keep reaching out 5 years later from across the country, dives to my house, berating me as the worst he's known? I know the obvious. He's diabolical. Like a lot of times you might have a narcissist that gets like stuck in his head where he's going to continue to come after you no matter what. Like with that, I would start going through like the stalking, like protective order, things like that. Does a narcissist ever love or have any kind of love for his source of supply? No, not the kind of love that you're thinking or that you're asking about because he hasn't lowered ego. If you can't lower ego, then there's no connection there. Today, you still feel shame deeply? If so, how do you deal with those emotions when they arise? I still feel shame, right? Everybody feels shame in one sense. Does it still impact me and affect me the same way? No, not at all. Because I've worked on healing and integrating into my life so that shame isn't this awful piece that feels like it's going to kill me. Shame is a piece that's letting me know that there's an opportunity for healing and that there's an opportunity there that needs to be worked through. Shame oftentimes is a piece that's like, oh, there's something underneath the surface that I need to work through. There's something there that needs to happen versus before, shame and guilt, push it aside, figure out how do I avoid it at all costs, even if it meant running over someone to hurt them so that I wasn't hurt by the shame and guilt. Completely different now. When you have children with a narcissist, how do you move legally? That all depends on your state, on your like nationality. There's a lot of different legal pieces there. Do you think it's an epidemic with narcissism? No, I think it's just a lot of people that are living their lives how they want to live it and a lot of families that are broken apart, which is why you also don't have healthy men showing other men how to be able to lead, which is why you get more abusive assholes as well. Why I'm so depressed and hopeless after leaving my narcissist. You're in withdrawals from the trauma bond until we help you like rewire the subconscious programming. A lot of times those withdrawals will be so heavy that it'll prompt you to go back, prompt you to jump into another relationship before you heal, or prompt you to sedate with different things so that you try to avoid it. Do narcissists make up stories a lot for no reason with friends? A lot of times to be able to boost up their own self-image. I've been on the edge of separating after only 1.5 years of marriage. Entire family wants me to because they're worried. I think you answering my question has really made me realize I have to. Sarah, why don't you reach out? Like, let's sit down, let's have a conversation. You can go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough, book a free call. We sit down, we build a plan, right? So if anything, you'll walk away with clarity. If anything, you'll walk away with things on paper of like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to go. This is the gap in between. Then we can talk. If it ends up being a good fit for you to work with me inside the healing process, totally fine. If not, then you have something to work with. Okay. But inside of that, if you go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough, we can actually talk through this and give you more clarity, but also make sure you've got steps. Right? Because the biggest piece inside of this, if you don't have clarity and you don't have a path moving forward, then it can seem extremely overwhelming. It's best to go no contact. He literally threw our entire family out, our family home, to move into his new source, who's a horrible person. She's been married and divorced 5 times. Yeah. No contact is best, as best you can. Thank you so much for sharing this. I sincerely appreciate it. Absolutely. We were married for 29 years. Yeah. My husband enjoys inflicting pain on me. He would smirk and laugh at me, call me sensitive, jealous, and invading his privacy when I cried or confront him. Sounds even more like a sociopath, psychopath as well. Thank you for the answer. Yes, I'm sedating and escaping reality all the time. By this time, after 12 years and a daughter, I won't get in any relationship. Can you please give me advice? Maximo, I would love to be able to talk to you. So you can reach out, go to rawmotivations.com. Let's be able to talk there, because sedating is just hiding the healing that you actually want to have. So like, I'm not going to tell you just to stop sedating. What I'm going to tell you is like, we need to focus on your healing. Right? Because healing will actually help you stop sedating anyways. Terrible time leaving my kid's dad after 16 years of abuse and cheating. Once I left him, he was out to get me through my kids. Co-parenting has been a joke, no respect, ability to converse. Yeah, 100%. Why does the narcissist, after years, he still want to make your life hell? A lot of times it's still to boost his image and value. Like, unless you have to have some type of communication because of kids or something like that, I would go completely no contact. Right? Because then, like, it doesn't have to make your life hell. Like, change your phone number, like, move, like, have something be different so that he doesn't have access to you. Do all narcissists cheat? I always say yes. Some people don't like that answer, but yeah, they cheat either physically, mentally, emotionally. They cheat you out of the life that you wanted to live. They cheat you out of your dreams and desires. They cheat you out of spending time with your kids. Like, they cheat you out of so much time and energy. Do you know how many people I talk to on a day-to-day basis? Like, new clients or new people coming in for like consults, and I'm like, how much time has been wasted? They're like, years, or like 75% of my day, because I'm still thinking about, yeah, they cheat you out of everything. We have kids, so what to do? So a piece inside of that is you need to look at parallel parenting. You're not co-parenting. You can't co-parent it with a narcissist. Parallel parenting and using the BIF method, brief, informative, friendly, and firm. Communicating through like a separate app or like a court-approved app, like having all of your conversations limited, or communicating through a third party, never interacting with them. How to use a third person. Yeah, that's great. That's a great way to do it. All right, I'm wrapping up for tonight because we've been on for almost 100 minutes now. If you're in a place where you're dealing with a toxic man and you're dealing with a relationship of abuse and manipulation, please go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. The goal inside of this is helping people heal from the trauma bond, get rid of the triggers that right now have been controlling you and that he's been triggering you for such a long period of time. If you're stuck inside of this, I want to be able to help each and every one of you. You can go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Give you an opportunity to watch a short video of maybe some things that you're doing that's keeping you stuck in the relationships. Give you an idea of what I do. Fill out a quick application so I understand where you are, and it'll direct you as far as like us booking a free call, us talking through where you're at, what's going on, guiding you to one of our challenges, all different options there to be able to help you heal and move forward in the healing process. And inside of this, I want you to understand, like, you're not crazy, you're not alone, you're not helpless. I want you to reach out for help. If you don't, you can continue working and healing and growing, developing, but I know I can help you with a step-by-step plan. A path that we've been able to walk hundreds of women through to find complete freedom. That no longer think about this guy. They're indifferent to him. They've completely eradicated the trauma bond. They've broken it completely. They've gotten rid of so many triggers that this guy doesn't even trigger them anymore. Inside of this, if you're watching all of my content and you're not applying it, or you're not doing something with it, or you're like, I need added accountability to help with that, then that's where we need to talk. Like, this is your moment. Raise your hand, go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough, or if you're watching this later, drop a comment that says breakthrough down below. We'll send you the link. Because inside of this, the next step is you healing, not getting more information, not getting more consumption inside of social media. That's really it. Healing happens when you decide to heal, not when he decides to block you, not when he decides to move on. Don't be victim to his choices, but be the victor of how you actually move forward today. Taking the time, the energy, the focus to be able to invest into you day in, and day out. Because the end goal inside of this is that you heal and you become indifferent. You live the life that you're actually created to live instead of simply being here to be used and abused. You're meant to be here for so much more. Inside of this, I want you to go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Watch a quick video, fill an application, book your free call. Give you an opportunity for you to book probably as early as tomorrow. I think we have a couple spots open tomorrow. And inside of this, we'll sit down and we'll do a couple things inside the call. We'll first set up and understand where you are, what's affected you, what's brought you here. Then we'll talk about what you actually want, what healing looks like for you. Then we'll actually build a plan. We'll talk through what are the challenges in between. What's the gap in between that needs to be crossed? What do you need to do? What's the plan? Worst case scenario, you walk away with a plan, with actually an idea of what to do and how to shift where you are to where you want to go. So inside of this, go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. No more consuming, no more just learning, no more getting answers to questions without doing something about it. If you want to take action, this is how I coach. This is what I do. Progressing you forward step by step, line upon line, growing and redeveloping you to be the person that you're called to be. Y'all have a blessed, wonderful evening. We'll see y'all next time.